Out beyond the ideas of right doing and wrongdoing, there's a field. And my desire today is to meet you there. So I know there's a lot of stuff going on in people's minds. I felt it. I'm a very fluid energy person, and I felt it. And I totally get it. And so today I'm here to offer peace. I'm here to offer love. I'm here to offer some joy. I'm here to offer some understanding. And so I want to ask you first to do something that I did at my center for years. I'm going to ask you to do a reset breath with me. If you don't know what that is, that's not about taking an inhale first. It's about taking an exhale first to let go of the monkey mind that is running in some of our minds in this moment so that we can be present to this now moment. So I'm just going to ask you to exhale right now. And then just check in with yourself. And check in with your mind. Check in with your heart. Check in with your gut. And just be aware of what's going on in your physical body. And I'm just going to ask you to do one more exhale. Just let go. And place your hand on your heart, whichever hand you want. And just remember that you are the light. Remember that you are sons and daughters of the divine. Remember there is one presence and one power. And remember that one presence and one power is flowing through you now. Allow it. And experience the oneness that you can feel in this now moment. And when you're ready to come back to this place, you can open your eyes. And maybe breathe a little bit easier for a moment. You know, I grew up in my unity learnings right here. And this place is very special to me. In fact, it means the world to me to know that you're here. Even when I'm not in town, to feel your presence and to be online and to watch what's happening here. It's always reassuring to me to know that there are places here that remember. There are people here in this world that no matter what's going on out there, that remember. They remember the oneness. And I was taken this week because when I was asked to speak, of course, the first thing that happened, and I loved your song, because I had some fear. I'll be honest, I had some fear. I was like, oh, can I say the right things? Can I be the right presence here? Am I the right person to be here this Sunday? And so I have had a lot of conversations with Holy Spirit back and forth, and I've argued many times, no, I'm not. And every time I got the answer, yes. And so I kept asking, and some of you that are chaplains remember the song, Here I Am, Lord. It is I, Lord. I've heard you calling in the night. And I kept singing that one night over and over and over. And even my partner, Judy, kept getting up and going, are you okay? I was like, no. But I'm waiting for something. I'm waiting for a clear path, because the reason I had you reset your breath, sometimes our mind and everything inside of us is fighting against what we know is ours to do. You ever been there? And so you have to let that go and just say, okay, here I am. Where would you have me go? And what would you have me do? And so I showed up. The other thing that has gone through my mind is, as I grew up in organized religion, there was a lot of scriptures read, and it seemed like a lot of times one of the scriptures was, and it came to pass, blah, 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 blah. And I started paying attention to that, and the older I got, I thought, that's interesting, and it came to pass. Well, this morning I thought, that's an encouragement to all of us in this now moment. It's about the evolution of our consciousness, and whatever we've got going on inside of us right now, it came to pass. It came to pass through us, so that we can show up as the oneness that we know that we are, so that we can show up as the light that she sang about this morning, so we can always be that presence. And so the other thing I do sometimes is do a little research, and I found that Rumi tells us that the wound is the place where the light enters. Can you hear that? Khalil Gibran told us that out of suffering emerges the strongest souls. Well, shoot. Did I want to read that? I almost didn't put that on my list. I was like, I don't want to say that. But I know it's true. I know in my own personal life, the times when I have felt like I was suffering led to unreal, just unimaginable good in my life. And I'm like, how does that happen? It's where the light comes through. Marcus Aurelius told us that what seems to stand in the way is the way. Oh. Can you take that in? Because what seems to stand in the way is not out there, it's in here. And what is standing in the way inside of me is the way through. I just have to acknowledge it. And then, of course, I went back to Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, that told us that the most beautiful people we have ever known are the people who have known struggle and loss and found their way out to the other side. Wow. So I want you to take a check of yourself in this moment and go, okay, where do I fall in the midst of all of that? And I want you to hear something from me that some of you may know and some of you may not know. Most of you know that I was the unity minister on what I call the other side of the railroad tracks for 25 years. And when I ended up saying yes to that job, that was a long time coming because I had argued with Spirit. I was a school psychologist at the School for the Blind, and I had a really good job. But I felt a calling that there was something bigger and greater. And I had a dear person who I loved dearly ask me to come and join her and do ministry. I started on a Monday and she left on a Tuesday. And I all of a sudden went, okay, this ain't what I had an idea about at all. I didn't want to do this by myself. I was a licensed Unity teacher and I had taken some classes in leadership, but I wasn't through being ordained. But what I want to tell you about today, and what I want you to hear from me, is it's not about being through the process. It's only about saying yes to the moment. Whatever this moment is for you. And so you can only imagine that the church that I was standing up with the very first Sunday and standing there going, what in the world am I going to say that these people need to hear? I called the association and I said, I need some help here. And they said, well, you're on the path to become ordained. I said, yeah, the path. And it's looking a little rocky right now. So send me somebody. They sent me Gary Simmons, the guru of it all. At the time, his wife was going through cancer treatments. And so he was not able to be there and hold our hands every moment. But he was there once every 6 weeks to speak, to do workshops, to help us. And I had him on speed dial. And he had said to me, Denise, if there's anything you need, I'm here. If there's anything you need, I'm here. And he said, the first thing I want to tell you to do is you need to grab up your board and all your leaders and yourself, and you need to go to the village because Michael Beckwith is going to be there, and you need to experience what he's going to say. I was like, okay, now how am I going to get all my board and all my leaders to say yes to all that? Of course, I went in and said, Gary Simmons said that y'all need to get your behinds in this bus and we're going to go together. It was the thing that not only saved our community, but it saved me. And years later, when I would see Gary at conferences, I would say, Gary, things are so different. And he said, it's because you're different, Denise. So before I tell you about his 4-step process of rising in consciousness, and some of you may be very familiar with it, I want you to hear that I believe that this spiritual community is amazing. It's about the inner work, not the whatever's out there going on that you may like or not like or want to deal with. One of the things Gary told me one day, and I'd heard it from many other people, Denise, you don't put your makeup on the mirror, you put it on yourself. You don't try to comb the hair of the person looking at you in the mirror, you comb your own hair, because the reflection is what you're presenting. Sometimes that's hard for us to hear. Sometimes it's hard for me to hear when I look out in the world and see things that I don't necessarily like. But I've learned through this process that I'm going to share with you, and I promise I will be succinct and short because I know you have a lot going on today. But I have found with this process that it's not linear, even though it was taught to us in a linear way. Because I will make a step forward and then I'll make 2 steps backward and go, oh, I thought I was done. You're never done. And if I could share anything important with you, is what's going on right now in this spiritual community is for you, not against you. And you have to make the decision of what that means inside yourself. So the process is to me, by me, through me, as me. Some of you have heard that. And so the first place in it, and the place that I was stuck in the beginning, is this woman wanted me to be a co-minister with her, and then she left. I'm a victim. She did it to me. And I hung out in that for a while. Didn't feel good. I was like, if she loved me, she would not have done this. And she told me she did, so Lord mercy. You know, I had to remember what I was told that unity stood for, that I used to hear Jimmy Scott say every Sunday morning, you are loved. You're a divine child of God. You are one with the presence and the power that is God that created this whole universe. And when I began to take that in, I began to realize that that relieved a little bit of the pressure inside me for being afraid that I was never going to get it right and thinking somebody had done something to me. What I learned years and years later, it was all for me. All for me. And so when I shifted my consciousness from saying that I was a victim to saying that I'm a divine child of God. Now, I'll be honest with you, I had a few moments of thinking, okay, maybe somebody out there is going to fix this. Gary Simmons is going to fix this, the board's going to fix this, somebody's going to fix this. I had to fix it. I had to shift my own consciousness to not waiting on somebody else. We're the ones we've been waiting for. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Look at somebody and say to them, we are the ones we've been waiting for. You are. So personal responsibility is the only thing that gets you out of victimhood. Can you hear that? Personal responsibility. And what that means is I may not be responsible for the same things that the rest of you are responsible for, but what am I responsible for in this minute? Sharing some peace. You have to know what you're responsible for in this minute. And so when the pressure released a little bit, I was like, okay, I've heard all this stuff about the law of attraction and everything. Let me try that. Let me see if I do have those skills. By me. That's a fun place to be. I wrote this down so I would remind myself of it. Michael Beckwith said that this is the place of parking places, palaces, and partners. You get it? All this stuff I want. Let me see if I can create it. Yay. And I began doing some of that. And it's like I rose up from being a victim to going, no, I can co-create here. This is a good thing. This is a real good thing. Because it teaches us that we have power. That's what you're talking about this month. We have power. We're one with that power and that presence. And we can co-create with it. That's exciting. But then I had to remember Myrtle Fillmore, who said in some of her writings, you know, all of that is wonderful, but the silence is where change happens. The silence. In fact, one of the things I saw that don't know that I've ever even taken in, when I lose touch with the silence, I lose touch with myself. When I lose touch with myself, I lose the connection to why I'm even here. And that healing is available in every moment in the silence. And silence is not just about me not talking. Silence is about me letting go of thoughts. Whoa. You know, over the years as a minister, I had people go, I can't meditate. I can't be still. And then if they could ever be still, that I can't meditate because my mind won't shut off. I'm like, keep practicing. Keep sitting in the silence. Keep being there, because at some point in time, you're going to have those moments. I promise you, I've been meditating for 38 years now, every morning at 4:30. And some days are wonderful, and I feel that. And some days I get up and my mind is going, and I'm just like, okay, stop. Anybody ever have that experience? And so then I just get up and go do whatever that is, turn the coffee pot on, make sure the dogs are out, not peeing on the carpet, do whatever you need to do. Okay, now be in silence. And what I found in the silence is that the silence led me to step 3, through me. Because I realized it wasn't just about me going out and manifesting parking places and partners and beautiful homes and a car, and I did all that, and then unfortunately every time I went, and now what? What's all that about? Yay. What is it that Spirit is trying to flow through me in this moment, and I've got stuff in here hiding it away? You know what I mean? It's like opening up a pathway for Holy Spirit to flow through us so that the right and perfect answers come to us. If I hadn't have done that on Wednesday morning, I might not have shown up this morning. It's like, okay, I get it. I need to be quiet, quit going, okay, what if, no, shh. Allow Spirit to flow. Do you understand how each of these movements are letting a little bit more pressure off so that you can truly be you? The analogy I've always told people about is my grandmother. My grandmother was my hero, and she every summer did a lot of canning with power, with power, with her own power, with pressure cookers. And it's like you had to know exactly when to let a bit of that steam off, or eventually it'd explode and the whole kitchen would be a mess. But I watched her dance with all of that. It was like she knew exactly when it was time. That's what this third step is about. When is it time for me to let go of all of that stuff that I think is important and allow Spirit to flow through me in this moment? Because the fourth step is the most important. And hear me, some days I get in there and some days I don't. But when do I show up as the expression of the divine? As me. And what is my expression of the divine? Because mine's going to be different than Randy's. Mine's going to be different than Jill's or Dan's or Susan's. And that's all okay, but what is my expression of the divine? Do you know what your expression of the divine is this morning? And know that it can change. Mine has changed over the years and morphed into something different. And that's okay. So, to me, by me, through me, as me. And when I show up as an expression of the divine, it's the same thing that Jesus, the master teacher, did. It's the same thing that the Buddha did. It's the same thing that all the master teachers did. And if you remember, in those moments, Jesus was able to heal people, even people who were struggling. Because one of the stories that I love so much that has also gone through my mind is Jesus was walking through a town and a man was asking for healing, and he said, "You are healed. As you believe, you will be healed." And I don't know if you remember what the man said. He said, "I believe, but heal my unbelief." Do you believe that peace is possible? I want you to know that she read this morning is very near and dear to my heart, and I didn't write it all by myself. In fact, a lot of it was ideas from my mind that Reverend Deb Moore, who is in the church that I used to be in, she wrote a lot of it. Because during those days, we were having an organization called Nashville Chooses Peace. And we would create days of peace and bring in people from the community, bring in other churches. We invited all kinds of people in to share that with us because we believed it was one thing that the city of Nashville needed. What I want to say to you this morning is the city of Nashville needs you. And yours is to decide what your expression of the divine is going to be. Individually and collectively. I offer you peace. I offer you love. I offer you friendship. I see your beauty. I hear your needs. I feel your feelings. The wisdom that is flowing from me this morning came straight from Holy Spirit. So I salute that same source within each of you. And so let us breathe together today in this remembrance of our oneness, in this remembrance of our unity, in this remembrance that peace is possible if we choose it. Namaste.